I don't know what comparator that is. What do we have? We have a 30 cal. So I reckon I could actually measure my shoulder setback on this rimmed cartridge. Does that matter at all? I guess it would keep your cases from stretching as much if I don't bump them down so far. Does that make sense? Because I could be wrong, but this is a rimmed case here. A rimmed case, head spacing off of the rim. Oh yeah, look at all that carbony goodness that's now on my Hornady book. Delicious. These need a little TLC. I might need to hit them with some, just a paper towel or something to get some of that crap off. I guess I could use this here load and block. Hold them for me. Oh man, those rims don't fit. Oh, even the gigantic Midway tray doesn't fit. Does the RCBS? Dang it, dude. That's actually really awkward now. Shoot. I'll have to size everything. I'll just use these bins for now, I guess, but I'll just have to add powder and then seat before I do anything else. Okay. No problem. Here's what the finish round should be very similar to, but just a slightly different projectile. Up here on Twitch land. Yeah, they got a nice crimp around the neck there, a little excessive even. Alright, we'll learn these 10. Let me grab a paper towel and wipe them down. Where'd it go? Got it all wrapped up. Oh yeah, that's pretty. Just like new. Yeah, sometimes your rounds don't fully need, tumbled and polished and wet tumbled with pins and Dawn and all the stuff. Sometimes a paper towel is sufficient just to get a reload going. Now, don't worry, YouTube. If I decide to upload this segment as a standalone video, this is not the whole process. I'm not manufacturing anything. You can suck it, YouTube overlords. Alright? Alright. Perfect. Yeah, those cases were not clean, but obviously not super dirty. That just looks all washed out because of the lighting for some reason, but whatever. Alright, now I need some lubricant. Lubrication. Alright, gotta move this so I can open up my drawer. Get some of them lubrications. Also, I've been amassing these Hornady overall length or modified cases to use with the overall length gauge. They don't make one for the MOSIN. Is this the one that was open? No, that one's brand new. Where's the half-used open one? Whatever, I'm going to use this can of Redding Imperial sizing die wax. Is it down there? Oh, nope, okay. Speaking of sizing die, I have to change the expanders in there like we said. And so there's the larger diameter. And it comes with the 308, so you have to switch those out. And like I said, I'm going to have to, clean this die out too? Yep. Yep. So time to do everyone's favorite. What was that? Fall in the primers? Of course. Time to do everyone's favorite lead die maintenance. It's generally easier when it's in the press. And let's move him over. There we go. If you're unfamiliar with the lead dies, it just has this collet up top, and that grips down on your decapping pin. Nope, this way. Ha! Other way, dummy. Freaking moron. And there we go. Pull him out. That's a 308 diameter. I should probably mark that somehow. Here we go. We'll get the painter's tape that the dog chewed on. And we'll use our Sharpie that disappeared to over here. 308. Okay. And I'll put that back in the bag. So the bag's mislabeled, but the pin is correctly labeled. I gotta put him back in, except I said I was gonna paper towel him down real quick. Cool, there's not actually a whole bunch of gunk in here. Very nice. Sometimes lead dies are a little suspect in quality, but just give them a good rub down and check everything out. Now I have to clamp back down on this, which always seems to take a lot more effort than it should. Alright. And you want a little bit sticking out, so you actually push all the way through the depth of the case head and punch out the primer. Oh God. Come on now. But yeah, what is the MOSIN? It is an M44 carbine. I forget which country it came from. It's a whole bunch of mixed parts with different serial numbers, and it was obviously just slapped together at one point so that they could say that there was another MOSIN on the books. There we go. So although I cranked down on that pretty good, it's probably not tight enough, but we'll figure it out here soon. Alright, we're going to do the classic screw it down until it touches, and then come back out a bit and get some cam action going on. And then I'm going to actually crank down on this guy. Okay. That's good enough, but I don't need it that tight to size. So I'm just going to actually go with barely touching. Yeah, that's touching the shell holder. Just barely touching, and of course it doesn't come with the freaking die lock ring wrench. I really dislike the newer style Lee lock rings. I really prefer the older style square ones. Yeah, I said I'd get that out here. Let's have a look. Don't look, YouTube. Aha! Just an oldie, old little shorty. Got sporterized and bubbified, and I'm pretty sure I'm going to take the stock off and just spray paint it some kind of stupid camo. And then, like I said, I've got the mount down there to put a red dot here where the red side goes. But first I'm going to try a, what do you call that? Long eye relief scope. I've got one on the silly ass 454 Casull handgun. So that'll be fun with iron sights, and this will be more fun, I think, with some glass, because I'm blind. But yeah, it works real good like. It's got the classic Let me see here, 73-inch trigger pull. Watch how sloppy this thing is. Still not going. Yeah, it's like a 1/2 inch of take up. Pretty crazy. Woo! Yeah. Anyways, that's the old MOSIN. I don't really want to put a bunch of money into it, but I was thinking about doing the Archangel stock. And then with the glass and whatnot, it could be a pretty formidable, fun little toy. Right on, makes for a good little hunter. Yeah, that's the gentleman I got it from. He said he just wanted a nice little kind of lightweight hunting rifle he could bring around, but he wasn't super worried about getting wet or if it had to get ruined or whatever. That was the one that could do that. Yeah, I'm going to totally break it down and strip it from any grease that might be left, and I guess you have to heat up the stock to get the oil to seep out of the pores. So I might have to do that if I want to spray paint it at some point, because eventually I can always get a secondhand stock as well, because that one's already been sanded down and it's not original at all. But yeah, like I said, I just want to kind of spray paint it and do my own bubbifying to it. And mostly it would just be fun to go larping around the backyard and you know, stripper clips and woo, little light cast loads, run around offhand. That's some fun stuff, brother, tell you what. Alright, so that's about as minimal cam over as you could call cam over. So, Imperial wax. I should have put some on the little expanding mandrel inside the die before I cranked it down. But I'm going to go ahead and be very liberal here on the inside of the neck on the first few. Or just each one, get a very tiny amount in there. Because, you know, new die, brass has been fired once. Let's not stick this. And, oh yeah, that's tight. She needs some more lubes on there. The base of the case is saying, no, I don't want to. Okay. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Okay, I need some more lube somewhere else apparently. Let me try a different case. Wow, you can see the stretch marks every time I move down on it. You see these different lines along the body? This brass is moving a lot. So it sized the neck. Let me see if it chambers. And I can back the die out and kind of start over. That's pretty tight. But it chambers. My neck was resized. Huh. Let me back that die out a bit, because that seemed pretty excessive. And I still didn't hit the primer, so... Huh. Alright, back to the crappy lock ring. And it was touching. I'm gonna come out like a quarter turn maybe. That might have been a sixth or an eighth of a turn maybe. I'll try a new piece of brass and make sure he is properly slicked up. Because I'm not trying to stick a case here, and that would be embarrassing. Alright, that one felt pretty good. The die is definitely not down as far. Yeah, look at that. Cool, that might be enough. Like I said, I think the headspace is off to the rim. Yeah, look at that. I think it's head spacing off the rim, so if I can just basically get a neck size until the shoulder blows out into the end of the chamber, I'm going to be safe. So I like that. I like that a lot. However, I didn't think about if I have to trim these. I'll have to whip out the old case prep center. But yeah, that's locked down. Let me size everything now. Okay, that's the one we got. I'm going to hit this first one again to get that primer out. There we go. Missed the $80 MOSIN days. You bought an 1891 American New England Westinghouse made MOSIN. It was exported to the Russians, captured and fixed by the Finns, and eventually made it to you. All the proof marks intact. Great history. That's freaking awesome. And it was only $120. That's awesome, dude. How do you, I guess you can trace, they put a date on there and then the country and their different armorers' markings, I guess. That's how you can tell where it went. Oh, yeah. I should probably look at the maximum trim length. However, these just chambered just fine, so I don't think I need to trim. I don't believe I need to trim these. I'll say that, and then there'll be one of them that's way out of spec or something. But pretty much mainly by the Arsenal stamps. The dates after original manufacturer don't make it on. But yeah, there's definitely some nerd out there that could figure it out. I am most certainly not that nerd, though. Ah, you see the primer? I just went flying. Oh, yeah. I gotta pick them up so the old puppy don't get them. These are actually sizing very nicely. Anyways, I've got 20 pieces of S&B brass. Oh, back here. I still have 10 rounds that are factory, and I've got 10 pieces here. But I've got 100 pieces of PPU, and those are only going to be cast loads. So I'm going to see, over time, how many firings those get, and like what kind of minimal sizing work I can do. If I can just neck size them for a while, and then maybe just do the minimum bump back. As long as they still chamber, since we're head spacing off of the rim, you don't really have to worry about that. And one good thing about the Imperial Lube is inside your case, I don't think it's actually capable of contaminating the your powder or anything like that. And if anything, it might even help your bullet seating with just a little bit less friction. Maybe I made that up, but it makes sense in my mind. Oh yeah. And let me actually measure the ID here. The ID of our neck should be like 308. Which means I can fit a 310 plus bullet in there without too much worry. And I'll have roughly 2 to 3 thousandths of neck tension. So if it sizes the ID down to 308 and I've got a 311, then I have 3 thousandths worth of neck tension. And so this neck looks straight. These other two have little dings on them. So let's see what it blew out to. So it actually, the interior inside diameter here of the fired case is right at 311, maybe 311 and a half. So that tells me the chamber is at least made for 310 or 311 projectiles. So without having slugged my barrel, I think it was a good move to go for the larger diameter. Because if I went for a 308 projectile, it would be underbore by a few thousandths and just kind of flop around down the barrel, which would potentially lead to horrible accuracy. And on a sort of similar note to the neck tension, if I had kept the 308 expander in there, which actually sizes to 306, that would be a lot of neck tension, and it would probably crush my cases as I went to seat those projectiles. So generally, from what I hear from the experts, 2 to 3 to 4 thousandths of neck tension isn't too bad. But once you get to 5+ thousandths, that's a lot of stretching that case mouth has to do when you're seating that bullet. And if you have brittle or hardened brass, or depending on the brand, if it's not annealed, that neck might be hard enough to just squish into the shoulder rather than expand out to allow for that wider diameter projectile. And we have a lube dent, as I was describing why you shouldn't put it on the shoulder, dang it. Oh, nuts. Ooh, can you see? Little wavy bit there in the shoulder. If it's focusing, hard to tell. But yeah, don't put lube on your shoulders, folks. But that'll fire format. Anyways, long story short, you want proper neck tension for your diameter of projectile, and you want proper fitting projectiles in your chamber as well as the bore to have proper accuracy and things. So I'm going to wipe off the outside of the neck and the shoulder. No bumps. Wow. No, it just got covered in primer residue gunk, carbon dust, so I'm going to wipe that off, and because I don't want that crusty, grimy stuff going up into the body of my die and then scratching my brass or the die. Alright, so that might have been a little bit residual, but much less of a dent on that one. Bah, I'll shoot it. That's what I'm talking about. Man, you gotta see some of the pretty questionable 223 brass I've loaded up. Like, I have a Ziploc bag specifically for the ones that even I question, but for the most part, a dented shoulder or part of the case, or like it got stepped on and some gravel almost went through it. As long as it runs in the sizing die and there's not a big gouge, it'll fire form out, right? Remember the sketchy 223 test? That's what actually gave you confidence to not be so damn picky. That's actually awesome. That's sweet. Sometimes I'm like, man, some of these videos have a couple views on them, but I don't know if anybody actually gets anything from it, or if like the stuff that's popular just has stupid entertainment value, or if it's actually educational. So that's cool to know that somebody might have taken something positive from it other than just doing shit for the lulz on the internet. Okay, I'm gonna need you for powder. I don't need this Lee lubricant. I'm not a fan at all. It goes on easily, but if you let it sit, then it kind of gets kind of gross and crusty, and then it's a pain to remove and clean off. So here we're going to be priming on the bench. And we don't have to crank this down, but I don't want it to move. And I'm going to use questionable factory pulled primers, and then I'm going to paint them. We're going to do some fingernail polishing on these primers. Should we do red, black, or clear? Let me get the questionable primers really quick. Oh God. Sorry. I swear I'm a professional. Alright, yeah, look at these. Some of these, the anvils fell out, but they're just like randomly in the bag. So, those are pulled primers from whatever reason, factory ammo that had to get pulled. So let's see if we can get enough to prime up our brass. After, of course, we check our trim length, because that's important. But like I said, they all just, not all, the 3 I tried, they all chambered, so that's good to know. What's my trim length here? I think it was 3037. No, the case is 2115. That one's too long, 2114. So that one's 1 thousandths under, that one's 6 thousandths over. Intriguing. So don't get me wrong, these suck for high volume, these Lee case length gauge and shell holder combos. However, I am a big fan of them for small batches, like less than 50 cases. They're great. So for $5 you can collect one for all your cartridges. Where'd you find those things? What, these things? They're like everywhere, dog. Yeah, all of your popular retailers. Mr. James Pollard, welcome aboard. Are you here on the YouTube? Look what we're working on. Only 10 of them right now, but we're doing it. Tell you what. Ugh. So yeah, this setup, you get the cutter. This comes in one box. You buy one of them and you can use all the other shit. And here is the case length gauge, which is set to bottom out here through your primer pocket. So they have to be decapped and sized, of course, because trimming before sizing would be dumb. And then it comes with a specific shell holder for your cartridges. I like the 54R. Sir, I'm a fan. We were just talking earlier. I had one, 15 years ago. Ended up trading it off. These threads are screwed up, so it's not going in. Ugh. Where the hell did you find those? Oh, the primers. Gun show pandemic find. Does this one not go down far enough? They better not have given me a crappy shell holder. Aw, man. That's annoying. These threads are crappy, so I can't screw this in far enough. That's annoying. Well, now I got it stuck on there. What a dummy. Okay, well, way to go, Lee. As I was just singing their praise about the die set looking nice. Apparently there's a thread here on my shell holder that's total butt. I don't think I have that number 16 anywhere else in here. Dang it, brothers. My case length gauge has foiled me. But we're going to just cheat. We're going to cheat and just see how much we need to take off. I only need to move 5 thousandths out of here, so I can just go and stop once I pay. Hey, look at that. I went too far, actually. Well, 5 thousandths under maximum, so it's really perfect. And then we'll just touch it up. And now that one is ready for priming. Hell yeah. This was the only one that wasn't over max trim length. Cool. Yeah, might as well just do it. So yeah, the primer, sorry, I got distracted. They came from a gun show at the pop off of the pandemic. Supposedly out of factory ammo. Like, you know how you'll buy pulled brass that's primed? Well, these are pulled primers from pulled brass. Okay, well now I got some shavings down in the neck. So I kind of want to just hit those real quick with the old paper towel. That's awesome. Hey, if they go bang and you can find the anvils, I say why not? Yeah, they all definitely have the anvils. They're just in the bottom of the bag there. And if not, I have like a zillion anvils from literally any spent primer. So this might be unnecessary, but I'm cleaning the lubricant and any of those metal shavings from the case neck, both from the sizing and trimming operations. And that is to just avoid any powder contamination or interference with seating our bullet if there's any chunks of brass stuck in there. But yeah, overall I'm fairly satisfied with these primers, although you'll see when I go to install them, they're going to be loose. So we are going to fingernail polish them into place. So should we use red, black, or clear? What's your guys' favorite fingernail polish? Here, if you're on the YouTubes, these are like $1.30 on Amazon. The Wet n Wild brand. So if you get on Amazon, there's like 30 different colors you can get from this brand here. They're pretty sweet. Yeah, and it's way cheaper than that Markron crap. This bottle's like twice as big, and it's about 10 times as cheap. I think the Markron primer sealer is like $20 or something for 0.25 ounces, I believe. And these are 0.41 ounces, so not quite half, but they cost $1.30 something, like I was saying. Okay, let's try to avoid spilling primers here. That's my goal. But yeah, for now I'm just using the ones that don't need an anvil. Oh wow, I guess I was just going to say new brass with tight pockets, but this is actually once fired, and that felt very nice, if I do say so myself. Those can now sit upside down and get some paint here in a minute. We're going to use the red and make them stand out. That works for me. And now that I made a big fuss about them being all undersized because they already came out of new brass, these are actually priming way better than I've ever previously experienced. But we're going to go ahead and paint them up anyways. Just sitting it perfectly flush. But it looks just like a brand new Winchester primer. You can see the blue compound. And eventually I'll just get down to the ones that need the anvils and use those. I test loaded a handful of them just to see if they work, because I've never had to re-anvil a primer before, but they all work just fine. Oh yeah. Yeah, those they're perfectly flush, and they actually did not feel loose one bit. So the paint here in a minute is going to be totally redundant, extraneous, unneeded, but it's going to look cool. We're done with the crappy case length gauge trimmer setup because the threads are screwed. And I reckon I'll show you guys on YouTube. We'll paint here on YouTube. So once again, the Wet n Wild fingernail polish on Amazon is about $1.30 something. There's several, like probably 20 plus, almost 30 colors to pick from. And we're going with red. Focus. And then you just want to get a dot on there and cover that primer. Apparently there's motion in the backyard. That means that there's a spider on the camera. And you want to be pretty pretty liberal there and let it spread out, it'll seep into that crack around the primer. And then when it dries, it actually just comes out flat. So I like to go on pretty heavy. Let's see if I can do this from the camera. Ugh. Big old blob there, and then let it seep into the crevice. And then if it looks thick, don't worry, it'll dry out perfectly flat. And then so yeah, you can do this with red, black, clear. There's green and orange and yellow and, you know, pink and purple if you're into that. But you can use it for load development or load identification rather. You know, red means hot. Those are my plus P loads, right? Or the green sealant are my hunting rounds. So on and so forth. I would rather be a little thick with it. I say thick, but it still dries out completely flat. I would rather go on heavy than have it thin out and not completely seal that little crevice. Just a big dot right on the center and then spread it around. All right, we got enough on there, but you can see how that one, maybe you can see, it's a little thinner than the other big dollops I was doing. And it's not like the prettiest thing ever, but I really don't care about that. And those will probably take a minute to dry. No big deal. Let me go ahead and get some bullets out here. We'll set them next door to our... Ooh. Let's actually compare some of our projectiles here. 179.7. 179.8. Oop, jump down to 7 there. 179, that one's light. I'm gonna segregate him. 179.8, that falls in perfectly. Oopsie. 179.6, that's our lowest one so far, but it's definitely not an entire grain short like that other one. 179.2, another light one. Yeah, so far the ones I'm keeping are all within 4/10 of a grain, which is pretty consistent, I would say. There's a 0.4, I'm going to throw it out. Oh yeah, 179.8. And I generally don't ever sort bullets, but I was just doing this while we were waiting for that nail polish to dry. Let's check some diameters. And I really hate these calipers, but it looks like, aside from the calipers being about a half thou off, if I get it just perfect, it's 311. Shit, I just threw that one back into the box. Haha. Well, gotta find one more then. Is that dry yet? Probably dry enough to use it over the shell holder. But you can see now that it has settled down into the primer pocket and sealed in that gap. Yeah, hopefully you can see the actual primer pocket, primer ring junction kind of thing there, as it dries and seeps into it. So if I'm just like trickling or using the scooper or whatever, I'll just pour some into an empty powder bottle I cut in half. So, you know, it held powder once before. It's probably pretty good at holding powder now. And we've got N160, which is a stick powder. And those are some very heavy, thick, chunky sticks. N160 is actually very slow burning. Anyways, big, thick, chunk and heavy sticks here. And I'm going to keep referencing my data so we don't dummy something up. 180 grain interlock, which is very similar to this. VIT N160 maxes at 53.9, starts at 44.9. So that's a whole 9 grain swing. We're going to go right in the middle at 50 grains. And I'm going to see what 1 scoop of this guy does. That's not even a full scoop. 50.1, I'll take it. So I'm going to pour the powder and then I'll start seeding that bullet immediately because I don't have a freaking case block, that's the word, that can hold the rim on these. So I need to get one of those apparently. Yeah, you can see it right up there. Not quite to the bottom of the case mouth, but somewhere near the shoulder. And be very careful bringing him on up there. And we seated them way far out so we can work down on our seating depth. Alright, and yeah, that seems to be staying now. That's dried. But look how long we are. We need to get to a maximum of... Let me just measure one of these factory rounds actually. That should... 2.855. 2855. Hornady says 2790. But I'm using a spear bullet, so... 2855 sounds better. That's longer, so that would be less pressure potentially and closer to the rifling, which would be less of a jump. So in my mind, that sounds good. And we are super long here at 2.997 actually. And there's not a lot of that bullet in the case so far. Sure, it's hard doing this thing backwards. So you can see a slight bulge where the case is started, where the bullet had started to seat, and then we're only in that far so far. Yeah, nice. Whatever seating stem is in here is lining up pretty much perfectly. Let me see if I can get really close to 2.9 and just see if it chambers. Because if the maximum is 3.037, all right, I went a little far on that. I'll back out a hair. Oh yeah. Yeah, we'll just have to put a light crimp on that just because, you know, crappy World War II bolt action. Good deal. I'm just going to do this whole scooping thing a bunch of times now. So yeah, James, I went with the 180 grain just because that was the factory ammo I had on hand. But I believe Spear also makes a 150 of the same kind of profile. Kind of the round nose, hot core style. 150 grains, you can get those moving a lot faster. You've got PPU, there's some hot loads. Those SMBs did not seem that heavy. I didn't have the chrono out, but if Hornady's saying we should be hitting 2600 with a full-length barrel, I really don't know how close I was to that with something that's 10 inches shorter. But I'm going to be shooting the 312155 more than any of it, I'm sure. The cast loads, and probably just a nice little charge of Unique or Red Dot or any of those really. I would like to try out some PPU ammo because I have factory new PPU brass. I hear that's good stuff. I might have heard it from you, but I've never really heard anything really bad about it. Mine are 150 grain that feels like a 300 mag. Dude, that's excessive. I shot some 300 Win Mag at 300 yards one time. It was excessive. I feel like a 300 Win Mag shooting 150s. That's just ridiculous. But I bet those were pretty stout, if that's what that feels like. Cool, we're down to our very last one. If you remember right, they were going 2,900 out of your MOSIN. Yeah, 2,900 on a 150 grain. That's pretty smoking hot there, sir. Oh no, I got big glob of fingernail polish on my board. That's why the big globs need time to dry, I guess. Oh well, last one. Last one here. Then we'll just do a light crimp. Let's do a light crimp. And then we'll grab the factory crimp die. I'm not doing anything excessive on this. It's not an auto loader. It's not doing anything crazy. But I just want to give it a little bit of a squeeze. Yeah. Alright, that's like a third of a turn. And I would say that that is sufficiently crimped. Whoa. Yeah, anyways, not a whole lot of crimp there, which is good for me. Yeah, that's perfect there. Just a little squeeze. That's just beautiful. Should maybe perhaps let it sit for a second, I hear, due to spring back. So you actually want to hold, and this will help the brass stay there rather than just doing a quick bleh, and it kind of springs back by some non-zero number. So, you know, people on the internet say let it sit for a second. Notice I'm not doing the double dip either. Dip and turn and then recrimp. Whoa. I mean, that in my mind was probably doing the same thing as is when you just hold it for a second to prevent spring back. But if you do this and then turn about a third of the way or a quarter of the way, it does a very fine crimping job. Last one. Heck yeah. They're beautiful except for this stain I put on my block. So these should be moving approximately 2,300 out of someone's MOSIN, not mine probably, but. So thanks again, guys. We will see you in the next video or live stream. Have a good one.